Okay, hello again, everybody, and welcome to what is the last one for me of the ADE TicketSwap Pro podcasts, and I'm very, very happy that my voice has lasted the course. We've been going through a lot of how-to examples from industry hard hitters and high flyers, and there's a huge amount of information stored in these podcasts. So please do go and listen back to what we've got so far. And this one promises to be just as edifying. And our topic today is how to turn fans into ambassadors. I'm here with Sophie van der Schaft. Sophie, do you want to introduce yourself and say a little about what you do?
Yeah, of course. My name is Sophie. I'm 37 years old, and I've been working in the media and marketing industry for more than 15 years, more specifically in influencer marketing for over a decade. So to say, I have experienced the early days of influencer marketing when we started calling those creators influencers. Before that, it was like bloggers, vloggers, people who were just like active on social media. I saw the rise of a platform like Instagram and, of course, pretty recently TikTok and how it changed the market. And I built a company around this. So in 2018, I started my own agency and MediaGroup. And we're focused on data-driven influencer marketing strategies for brands. And we match brands like Amazon Prime Video, L'Oreal, Puma, with the right creators that are truly matching on different topics such as psychographics and demographics, and make them ambassadors for those brands and let them tell the stories about those products or brands, which are obviously more authentic than if the brand only shares their own stories and their own products, basically. So that's what we do, and that's where I built my business around for the last 6.5 years.
So that covers a really broad range. I mean, both in terms of the companies and products that you're helping to sell and the type of creatives that you're working with.
Yeah.
Where and how does that overlap into the music industry?
So we do work quite a lot for events, organizations. We work for brands who are active in the event space. Like, for example, companies who are selling beverages. One of our clients is Moet Hennessy with different brands like Moet and Chandon. But also Heineken is a client of ours. Mm-hmm. But we also work for organizations like Audio Obscura. So we help them setting up their guest list for special events, help them with their PR. So yeah, we do quite a lot with the events industry and the music industry as well.
Mm. And the music industry has always had a kind of informal fan influencer thing going on, just because getting the right cool people to the parties, for example, has always been important. Musicians have had fan clubs, and there will always be the one person who turns up to every show who people start to recognise. Do you sort of look at and learn from fan culture itself?
Yeah, I think fan culture is super interesting. We see that when we look at lifestyle influencers, they also have loyal fans, especially when they share openly about who they are, their personality, and they go like deeper than just a superficial influencer who are only sharing their outfits or a certain part of their lives. And I believe that musicians, artists are like, from the core, they open up about who they are. They share their arts, their music with their fans. So fans feel very close, especially when they also do it right in terms of their content on social. So we learn a lot from fan culture, also looking at like the lifestyle industry in general. And I also feel that a lot of artists can learn a lot from creators who are not necessarily into music, but they're just like interacting with their followers and fans in a way that artists can also learn and benefit from.
Very definitely. I mean, a lot of the criticism or objection to influencer culture kind of rests on the idea that it's quite, that people are interchangeable, or that it's, surface level only. But a lot of these people exist as part of fan networks and actually fan cultures. Are you thinking about that as you bring people together, and because presumably it helps with sustainability of the business if there is developing links and networks and cultures?
Exactly. We're really looking at parasocial relationships between a creator and their fans, their followers.
Which is a word, again, that can sometimes be used negatively. People do.
Yeah. But we feel that if a parasocial relationship is strong between an influencer and their followers, it's basically... It is a big advantage when you work with brands. So, for example, a form of parasocial relationship is that a follower feels very close to an influencer because the influencer is sharing their opinions, and that's aligned with their followers' opinions, or they share a lot of personal information about who they are, where they stand for in general. The closer that connection is, the more effective brand collaborations on those influencer channels are, because it's easier for a follower to sort of interact, but it's also easier to follow their guidelines or their advice.
Absolutely. I think that's fascinating, because the negative sense of the use of the word parasocial is kind of caught up in so much sensationalism, because of course people want to think about stalkers or unhealthy relationships or obsessions and that, because that makes for good drama, and there have been TV dramas about this sort of thing. Yeah. But we all have parasocial relationships. We all connect to art and artists in very real ways.
And I think that's super healthy if there are boundaries in place, of course. Boundaries are very important. And I think also for an artist, it's important to set the boundaries right. But if you want to share what you want to share, and you use and utilize your social media channels for that, I think that's completely healthy and very sustainable for your own brand.
Absolutely. And it goes back hundreds of years, of course. People used to send locks of their own hair to the romantic poets and things like that,
Yeah.
In the music world, were there particular moments where you sort of saw the modern landscape starting to take form? I mean, I think I worked briefly for the Boiler Room a few years ago. Red Bull Music Academy was a really interesting one, because it provided kind of different levels of access between musician, fan, more established musicians, and started building networks that way. Were there any that kind of inspired you?
Like initiatives like Boiler Room, for example. Yeah, I think I can remember myself at Boiler Room the first time here in Amsterdam during ADE. I didn't know the concept. I didn't know it was like filmed live, and it was like it was a new thing. And I was pretty in front. Richie Houghton was playing, and there's actually a viral video about this. It's maybe not the best that I'm putting this for it. No, it's I didn't know the concept, and I think it really changed the way how music is consumed nowadays, and what the effects of social media and the viral effects can be. I think. If you look at, for example, TikTok nowadays, it changed it has so much impact on the music industry as a whole. We're talking to different organizations to be able to for them to be able to utilize TikTok in the best way possible. But I also feel that for artists, for example, there's so much to gain looking at the different elements and features of channels like TikTok.
How do you advise people using TikTok though? Because it feels like it's a constantly shifting sands. The algorithm is almost changing constantly, deliberately, to keep people puzzled and to make TikTok one step ahead.
Yeah, I think the way how an artist can decide for themselves, but I think it's a missed opportunity if you don't utilize a channel like TikTok nowadays, especially when you just want to try out new tunes and try out new music and see how your fans react to it. Of course, every artist hopes that their song or their sort of soundbite is picked up and it goes viral. That's not for everyone, but you can at least try out. And also the way how, for example, looking at the TikTok live community, which is now the live creators are now getting more and more, it's growing more and more rapidly. If a DJ, for example, is using their TikTok and play on their TikTok like a set or whatever and try out their new music, and they truly interact while they're doing that, instead of just like playing their sets and go offline at a certain point. Ask the community, okay, what do you think of this? Ask them like, what do you like best? And also within that live session, like truly interact and like answer questions they might have. You see that there's like so much to gain, and that, yeah.
Absolutely. I think the rise of the listening party on Bandcamp has been exploding just recently, and that will just very simply be on the day before or the day of release of an album. There's a playthrough, so people can remotely hear the album from beginning to end, and then they have a conversation with the creator, and I think,
and they feel part of it, and that's, I think, a very important aspect of it.
And that works really powerfully, even or especially for very small artists. It may only be 20 people in the virtual room with them, but those people become super fans.
Yeah, exactly. It's also what we see with more lifestyle influencer related campaigns. We always work with the different tiers of influencers combined. So, for example, if we work with brands like Puma, we work with mega influencers, celebrity influencers, but we also work with nano and micro influencers. And what we see is working with those smaller profiles, the engagement and the interaction between them and their followers is way more personal and way more intimate. And you can also mirror that to like emerging artists, how they can sort of, if they're still small and they can interact as a nano or a micro influencer with their followers, that can have a huge impact.
So, I mean, it's obviously comparable to the music scene in the different levels, the support acts and, resident DJs at small clubs who hope to gain some kudos from playing, and the momentum or kudos from playing alongside the bigger DJs, all of this kind of thing. Exactly. There's a kind of transmission of... I hate to use the word clout, but influence and power and stuff that goes on. I mean, talking of boundaries, something like TikTok especially, it seems to dissolve a lot of the relationships, or maybe it's just they're shifting and new ones are forming. But between performer, influencer, and audience, how does someone in that environment maintain the integrity of what they do with this constant shift of the relationships?
Yeah, I think in general, authenticity is key. Just like stay really close to who you are and where you stand for. So no matter what platform you use, if you go live or if you are performing like literally live in a club, or you do something on social, stay close to yourself and don't do anything you don't like or you don't feel comfortable with. So don't hop on a trend because everyone else is doing it. I think that's the most important thing. And also look and get inspired by how other emerging artists or what your stage is in the music industry, like get inspired by others. How do other people do it? There are so many different examples, and there must be an example you feel comfortable with and you can feel inspired by.
Absolutely. I mean, we were talking before we started rolling about biogs and self-definition for artists, which is something that I do a lot of, interviewing them for the record label and then helping them kind of write their own story and decide what their story is. And a lot of them find that very valuable because they hadn't thought about it previously, and also because having the certainty gives them a shield against a lot of the pressures and things like, it's not just the social pressures or the pressures to succeed, but it's the deliberately addictive nature of the platforms, the fact that the platform, is pushing at you to kind of go ding, 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 ring that bell, like a rat in a laboratory, I mean, with clients and with friends who are in, whether it's music or whether they're influencers, do you have a kind of set of pieces of advice that you give them to maintain their integrity and sanity?
Yeah. Well, do what you like would be the first, but also try to look at different content forms, looking at specifically content now, what really suits you. So if you're just stuck in the whole algorithm thing and you're just okay, this is way too short and snappy for me, go and try out different content forms. So for example, podcasting is a way, what we're doing right now. You have all the time to go in depth. You can have discussions about, for example, if you're a musician and you want to just get your story out there, but you don't want to utilize only the short and snappy content, you can start your own podcast and list show your new music, but also talking to other artists about it or talking with fans about it and go more in depth. And
that can be super fun as well.
Yeah.
It's if someone is part of a scene and they have friends within that scene, that's a really great way of showcasing the people around them, showcasing the sense of humor and the banter or the slang or whatever it is that goes with that, and therefore making the fans feel more part of that. But
exactly. Also, and you can show a different side of yourself because there's more room for it. There's more space for it. And when I look at bigger influencer, lifestyle influencer profiles, they also are looking for the right mix between, okay, I want to be active on, for example, 3 platforms, Instagram, TikTok, maybe YouTube, but podcasting is also within the lifestyle influencer marketing space, huge right now. And they show different sides of themselves on every single platform. And also within platforms, they can show different sides of themselves between, for example, an Instagram feed postings, reels versus stories. Stories are way more raw. They're they don't have to think about it too much. They just post something and don't need to edit or whatever. That's the same for podcasting versus TikTok. For you use the opportunity of everything you have in store and just feel what feels see what feels natural for you to use.
It's funny, it really brings back how there are so many precursors to what exists in the digital world that a dance music artist previously might have had a pirate radio show where they, again, banter with their friends, very much like a podcast. They have their persona in the club, what they're known for, how they turn up to the club, how they roll in. All of these are showcases. They are shop windows.
Exactly.
And so I suppose, we live in the digital world, so we shouldn't think of it necessarily as an addition. It's actually part of our lives. So it's how are you going to use that? So do you recommend that people kind of think and limit down to a few channels rather than trying to
I think so, especially when you're an artist and you're a DJ, for example, you don't necessarily live from your social media exposure. It's just a tool. Use it as a tool and don't use it as your entire personality, or it's not your it should be main focus, but your music is your biggest focus, and that should come first always, and it shouldn't make you even more stressed to feel forced to always have all the content in place for all your different social media outlets. I think that's too stressful. I think that, that doesn't work.
Do you think there's a necessary correction going on? Because it feels a little bit like over the past, I don't know, even the past decade, record labels and so on would sign based on numbers. And actually, exactly as you say, your social media life is not you or your creativity. Do you think people are more realistic now about whether social media presence is the be all and end all?
I don't know about that. If I look at the modeling industry, you see the same there, right? So it is super important, but then I think you can also use it as a channel to show a different side of yourself. So ask yourself the question, what do I, besides being an artist, what do I also want to get across? I remember like a post, I think it was Emily Lenz, who was posting about her pregnancy and about a lot of like backlash she experienced because she was still playing, like really, like she was touring and she was like pregnant. Mm-hmm. So there were a lot of like negative comments about that, like it should be like unhealthy for the baby and everything. But she really used her platform to speak out about this topic. And also not to sort of explain herself, but really make a statement about her being a woman in like the peak of her career, who is pregnant. And she made all the right choices for her own health, but also for her baby's health. And she still got like so many bad comments. And she just like chose to speak out on her Instagram, which is her biggest channel, I assume. And I thought it was so powerful, and it adds really something. Like then you can utilize your social media to show a different side of yourself. You're not able to show on stage, and that's something that is special. Then you can really add something, if you know what I mean, instead of only using social media because you should promote your newest track, or you should promote your touring dates or whatever. No, you can also use it to interact with your fans in a very special way and show a side of yourself that is important to share.
That's the really great example of very clear boundaries, like, enforcing the boundaries. I mean, to come back to the main thing about superfans, what's the advice that you would give to an artist who's kind of, reaching mid-level, I suppose, and has fans, has ones that are, they're starting to interact with quite a lot. Like, how do they build healthy and hopefully long-lasting relationships with those fans without letting the parasocial aspect go out of control?
Yeah. First of all, I would use the tools and the data and the measurements of today's world in your advantage. So, for example, I'm not an artist myself, but I have some friends who work in the music industry, and all the time I hear about all the Spotify features, for example, and they really, you know a lot about your fans. You can see where your most loyal fans are, and also on all your different social media outlets. So you can sort of segment your fans in a way, and also make those most loyal fans really, truly brand ambassadors through rewarding them in a way, making sure that they have early access, or they can receive some merchandising or stuff that are truly important to them or valuable to them, and you keep them with you in a long-term way, sustainable way, of course, with healthy boundaries, but interact with them in a way that they feel heard and special, because they are special, because they contribute to their success, right? Yeah. They have also opinions about music. They can sort of help the artist out with picking the right songs or making the right choices within their career. So please allow them to be part of your journey as an artist. I think that would be my main advice. And yeah, I think I said it before, be and remain authentic as a person, as an artist, because that's in the end the most important thing, and your fans will see whether you're authentic or you're just like you're playing a certain persona. I don't feel that's sustainable.
No, cool. And just finally, like look into the crystal ball. How do you see fan culture evolving? Do you must have to think about like what's coming up for your own strategy. So, what do you think is coming over the horizon?
Well, I think with the rise of AI, we haven't discussed it yet, but like AI is changing the world. So also changing social media, it's changing how creators create their content. It changes basically everything. I feel that a lot is still not clear how it actually will change the game. So we can say that hopefully in a few years from now. But I do feel it's very important to follow all the latest developments there. And my personal opinion is that authenticity has always been the cornerstone of successful ambassador strategies, successful influencers, successful artists. But that will probably be even more important in a few years from now, because there's also like AI artists.
If you can create an automated version of yourself.
Exactly. But then it's so important that you still remain human, because I feel that humans, in the end, also in 100 years from now, they want to connect with other humans, and so that will be my main advice. So utilize everything that AI will bring, because it will bring good stuff as well. But like authenticity will be even more key than ever.
And as with understanding the tools that already the analytical algorithms and data mining have given us, I know very well that from my work that Spotify, for example, gives back what you put in. You have to kind of have your own tastes and seed the algorithm before it will provide anything of value. And then you have to understand the tools.
Exactly.
So I guess the same is going to apply 1,000-fold to the AI tools.
Yes, for sure. Yeah.
Well, the challenge has been set for the future.
Yeah, for sure.
My mind is slightly spinning at the possibilities, but
let's talk in 5 years from now.
Yeah, too right.
Do you agree? Yeah.
Absolutely. Well, thank you, Sophie. I mean, fan culture is it is one of the most human of things, and it is really, really interesting to have this kind of deep analytical perspective on it. So really appreciate your time. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much.
Cheers.
Cheers.